everyone. My name is Vernisa.
Hey, y'all. This is Jen.
And this is our podcast,
Speak Up.
What's up, Jen?
Hi, girl.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Glad we made it to episode 40.
Oh, my gosh. 40. Y'all, we middle-aged in our podcast now.
Yeah, close to 50. For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends, and we created this podcast to use our voices to motivate people to overcome life challenges through self-love and respect.
Yes, self-love and respect are two things that are always super important to us, will continue to be super important to us even when we turn 40.
Wow, she had to throw that in there. We got some time, y'all. So, Jen, what is our title today?
Today, our title of our episode is called Accept the Real.
Accept the Real. Y'all hear that? I like that.
Let that sink in a little bit.
Let it sink in. We named it Accept the Real because today we're going to be talking about putting people on pedestals. We think it's important to accept people for who they really are and not who they perceive themselves to be or who you think they are because of the pedestals that you have them on. So basically, what is a pedestal? I think honestly, there's different definitions of, but I honestly think it's like a socially constructed norm that we use for people. Like we place them on these pedestals, and then when they don't hit that criteria or whatever that you thought that they had, we're disappointed in them and we look at them a certain way when we fail to take the time to like really get to know who they were. And it's kind of like judging a book by its cover instead of actually reading the book and seeing what it's about. That's
true. Yeah. To add to that definition, a pedestal is like placing somebody on something unreachable. It's like, seeing them almost like godly like or, illusion like or fantasies. Any pedestal that we create, whether it's on ourselves or somebody created on us or we create on other people, it's based on these fantasies that we have, like these expectations we may have on people. And honestly, like they can be very detrimental to our relationships, even to ourselves. Obviously as we get more into the episode, we're going to get into that. But yeah, that's basically the definition we wanted to give because we feel like these best explain what these pedestals are. Like you said, they're socially constructed, they're mentally constructed, so we need to be mindful of what we're doing with these pedestals because they are not pretty
at all. And me and Jen talk a lot on here about having healthy relationships, how to maintain one, how to get one, and it's not healthy if you're always putting somebody on a pedestal or when they're not, when they're showing you that they're human, finding a way to make fun of them or talk down on them because they're not who you thought they were, or it's simply because you're not even taking the time to really get to know them and just and to love them for who they are.
That's true, and I think that's super dangerous because then it's like, how are you ever going to know, what this person really is made of, and also like what your feelings are really made of. Like, how are you going to be able to accept people that they are humans, that we're not, something perfect, that no matter how much we work on ourselves, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to live up to everybody's expectations. We're never going to be this superheroes for anybody. Like, I'm sorry, we disappoint, like we're human, we're flawed, but I think that's what makes us so beautiful because we all have our different flaws. And those are probably some of the parts that need the most love. But if we're placing people on pedestals, we're not giving attention to those flaws and providing love to them.
That's so true. And honestly, that's the realness and it shows a person being genuine when they can express themselves and show truly who they are. I'm a real too. Like, pedestals, they make toxic behavior normal, and, we're going to get into that too. But, basically, like, you could be, what's what I'm trying to say? Some people, okay, I want to say, like, people, that term, people treat people the way they treat themselves. I feel like sometimes people use pedestals because they're mad at themselves for not reaching a certain level in their life, so they seek for that in other people. And then when that person isn't who they display, who they wish they were, they're taking out the anger of themselves onto that person. So I feel like that's how a toxic trait can formulate when you're putting somebody on pedestals, because it's like, I feel like sometimes some people aren't completely right within, so they're seeking for how can they bring somebody else down, and you take their frustration out that they really have on themselves onto other people. And honestly, that shit is extremely dangerous, and I feel like that's one of the factors in a toxic relationship.
No, very true. I mean, I think the basis of most toxic relationships are on these pedestals, because either one party or both parties feel like their person has to be meeting certain expectations. Don't get me wrong, have your standards, of course, like know what you want, don't settle for less, but at the same time, realize that no one is going to meet all of your expectations. And like Vernisa was saying, these pedestals normalize toxic behavior. You know, we're treating people like, oh, they have to conform to this, this, and that, and if they don't fit that, then they ain't my person. You know, well, I'm sorry, here's a news flash. You're never going to find somebody who's going to meet every single thing on your criteria. I don't even meet my own criteria completely, you know, and the thing is, I'm working on it every single day, but I'm never going to place somebody on this pedestal expecting them to fit every single thing of my ideal person or whatever, because that's just not healthy. That's not realistic. And we need to develop the idea that, you know, people are going to disappoint us, that we're not perfect. And at the end of the day, these pedestals are just creating room for more toxic behavior and toxic cycles, and just like excusing these ugly behaviors that pop out from trying to be perfect or see somebody as perfect.
That's so true. I mean, that's where mental abuse comes in. I mean, it's not even just in romantic relationships. Like, look at family, you know, look at the parents who like get on their students for getting bad grades, but when they were in school, they weren't getting good grades. It's like they're holding their children to certain pedestals, and when I feel like when a children messes up or has a slip up, it's like all of a sudden, like, you know, you're not this, you're not that. And I feel like when you're told a billion times like you're not something, or you suck, or, you know, like, you know, that bad self-talk being thrown at you, guess what, that's gonna fuck with you internally, and then you're gonna be thinking that's all, you know, that's all you can be. And I feel like that in a romantic relationship, that's what gives the toxic partner that control over you, because you're constantly seeking their validation. And that's where that comes from, the whole, like, how pedestals could turn to another way. And I want to say this too, all the time you spend judging somebody, getting mad because they ain't on the criteria, all you're doing is taking time from you working on yourself, you know, because it's easy for me to point, oh, you got this wrong with you, but what the fuck what do I see when I see myself? And I feel like when you work on your own self-talk, your own positivity, you're able to see positive factors in the people. I'm gonna be real, I've been told many times, like, people have told me like, oh, you're always giving compliments, you're always saying nice things. Maybe that's just how I talk to myself, and it's just radiating out, because I rather give somebody compliment, find the good in things, find the good perspective in situations, a good outlook, than fucking walk around looking for the negativity and everything. And a lot of people are walking around just looking for the negativity, even when like a bad situation happens to them, where they're having a negative perspective, a negative outlook on it. So I feel like pedestals and all that stuff play a role in all that, and I just feel like it's something that we have to be cautious of every day.
And that's the thing, sometimes people place themselves on, or they even have their own pedestal that they want to reach, and it's like they're climbing towards that pedestal so that others can see them on that, and that's super self-toxic, you know. Like, it's just not a way to be growing and, you know, really realizing like what you're made of, and, you know, that's not practicing self-love at all, because you're going to be striving for some sort of fantasy, and in that case you're never going to be satisfied, not just with any type of relationship, but within yourself, because you're always going to be like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, blah blah blah, and you're always going to be focusing on what you're not, because you're not reaching that fantasy level of that pedestal. But in reality, it's like, when you're focusing so hard on that pedestal, you're not focusing on maybe the progress you've made to even get to where you're at, to be a little bit better than yesterday, be a little bit better than last year, because you're so focused on just being on that godly stature with that pedestal, you know, and it's not healthy at all. And like I said, you know, you're not going to find any type of satisfaction in any relationship. So yeah, with family relationships, if a person places themselves on a pedestal, that most likely means they're going to place their children on pedestals, or any other romantic partners, or even friends on pedestals, and they're just going to be a toxic person, because that's going to be something that they're going to be projecting onto others, where it's like, oh, well, you know, I haven't reached this level, but my kid has to reach this level, or my best friend has to be a certain way because I'm trying to be a certain way. And it's like, things don't work that way. You know, we're never going to reach that fantasy ideal person. You know, of course I have an idea of what I want to look like in my future, but I'm also learning to accept that even if I'm not where I want to be, that's okay too, you know. And even if I don't get fully to what my ideal self will look like, it's okay too. I'm doing the best that I can, and as long as I'm valuing every single step of the journey and small victories, that's all that matters. But, you know, this pedestal stuff just doesn't allow us to see others for who they are, and then even ourselves for who we are. Like, we're just completely blocking everything out, and that's not a healthy way to live, because then we're never going to see people, you know, what they can bring to the table, and, you know, what they're really made of.
Damn, well said. you know, like Joe was saying, make sure it's it's realistic, and you know, it's about being able to pat yourself on the back for the progress that you have made. Yes, of course, like, you know, have your goals and everything, but pat yourself on the back along the way. You know, this life's a long, hard journey, but it's about like giving yourself that praise at the end of the day. I want to say too, like, you know, when you're the person being placed on a pedestal, you know, if that makes it hard for you to show your imperfections. I can't tell you how many times, like, I met people, they see me a certain way, they'll think like I'm like this, and like it makes you want to keep, you know, what's the word I want to say? You want to keep them thinking of you that way. Yeah. So it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to hide certain imperfections, or you're going to be like, ooh, you know, because you're scared that they're not going to see you in that light anymore. And I feel like that's where that whole validation thing comes from, because I ain't gonna lie, I've been guilty of that, because it's like, oh, if they know this about me, maybe they're not going to see me in that light. And it's like, no, we got to stop that, because you, in the day, you want somebody to be able to keep it real with you. You want someone to be open with you. You know, you want all that, because in the day, that's how a relationship is built. That's how, you know, secrets aren't kept. That's how the truth, you know, your who you are is really expressed. But you can't really get to know anybody if their imperfections are always hidden.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really big deal that we need to talk about, because, yeah, being, you know, a good woman or whatever, like, there's a difference between a good woman and a perfect woman, right? Just because I'm not perfect doesn't mean I'm not a good woman. And I think it's super dangerous when potential partners that we meet along the way put us on these pedestals, because like Vernisa said, it doesn't let us show that, you know what, I'm a good woman, but I have an attitude sometimes. I have a temper sometimes, you know, or I mess up sometimes. I say things I shouldn't say sometimes. But it's like, it makes me so afraid to even admit that, or to even start being my real self, because I'm so afraid of disappointing this potential partner. Like, ooh, you know, they're not going to like me if they see that I do get a certain way or whatever, you know, and we're just never going to love deeply in that case. And being put on this pedestal also doesn't allow us to love the potential partner for who they are, because we know that they see us a certain way, we might start seeing them a certain way, where it's like, okay, well, you know, if I have to be so perfect, what are they bringing then? You know, like, what makes them so perfect too? And guess what? We're just hiding stuff from each other, and we become like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they live together, you know, and all that stuff, but not showing each other the secret lives and all that. One of my favorite movies, by the way. But, you know, it's just like a way to just continue building walls against each other. You know, it's like, oh, I can't show this person that I'm a certain way, so let me just not even talk this way or talk about this, you know, and then it's like, oh, well, they can't talk about this because I don't agree with it. And what fun is that? Like, relationships are all about growing, about realizing that, you know, you'd rather spend the rest of your life with this imperfect person because they fit you perfectly with your imperfections. And if we're just placing each other on pedestals, we're never going to allow each other to see that. We're never going to allow each other to love deeply. And I don't think that's what life is about. Life is about just growing alongside people who can make you laugh, who can make you cry, you know, and learn with each other and from each other. You know, and pedestals just don't allow us to live that way.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna talk about too the pedestal of being that strong woman. I feel like when you're labeled that, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong being called strong and stuff like that, but I feel like people take that notion as like, you know, she's never weak. She's never going to have a moment where she cries. She's never going to have a moment where she actually needs help. And I think, you know, I ain't gonna lie, growing up, I've been placed on that pedestal of being, oh, she's strong. Vernisa can handle it. Vernisa get through that. It made me scared to show. Damn, I'm not having a good day. Having to hide my feelings when like I'm breaking the fuck down, you know. And I think that's detrimental to our health, because when you're seen in that light, you want to show, okay, I'm strong. I'm gonna get through this. You know, I can't let nobody see me cry. I can't let nobody know. You know what I mean? And it's like, in the day when you are crying for help, guess what? You're not going to ask for it, you know. And then I feel like you end up hitting rock bottom, because, you know, all these labels have been placed on you that you don't want to disappoint nobody, or like people just think you don't need it. You don't need help because you're always strong. You're always on your own. You can handle it, you know. And honestly, we're all human. We all have downfall moments. It's okay to admit that you're weak. It's okay to not follow through sometimes. It's okay to fucking take a mental motherfucking break. Whatever you need to do to get your mind right, you know. And I think if you are one of those people who are labeled strong, or like all the pressure's put on you, don't feel ashamed if you have one of those moments.
Absolutely. Break that damn pedestal down, because nobody should be placed on any of those. I don't care if you're Michelle Obama, if you're Jen, you know, if you're Nene, if you're Vernisa, you know, if you're Sweetie, like, you know, you deserve to have those moments and just realize I'm not okay today, and I don't need to be on this pedestal, because honestly pedestals can affect self-esteem and confidence as well. Yes. I remember this ex that I had, like, he had placed me on this pedestal, and I kind of knew he had, but I didn't fully know until the very end when I had messed up, and I was like at my breaking point, and I was already in a low, dark place by the very end. And I just remember he was like, I should have knocked you off that pedestal a long time ago. And for me, that just like broke me, almost literally. Like, obviously we broke up like a few days after that, because it was just something that I took to heart and like I couldn't let go of. But what I didn't realize is how much that was going to affect me afterwards. Like, the breakup was bad enough, but finding myself again after being knocked off that pedestal was one of the hardest things I had to do, because I realized like this person, wasn't satisfied with me because I didn't meet their standards of a perfect woman or a good woman or whatever that he had. So it was something that I really had to cope with and find and realize, like, you know what, I'm lovable even if I'm flawed. I'm lovable even if I make somebody angry or I get angry or I'm too sensitive sometimes. At the end of the day, like, my feelings are valid. But it took numerous occasions of me reminding myself of that, and it took me almost a whole year to fully find myself again and realize, like, this person does not define me. This person has no effect on my self-esteem or my confidence. Like, I have to find that from within. But I didn't realize that it all even started because I was placed on this unreachable pedestal that for some reason he had created about me, when, I'm sorry, he was nowhere near being on that pedestal of himself. I just got to put that out there. But we got to start breaking these down, because you don't know what that's doing to somebody's psyche and how that's gonna affect them for the rest of their life.
That's so true. And going off what Jen said, like, sometimes you have to go through a relationship like that to realize who you are, and that you ain't gonna put up with that kind of behavior in the next situation. I want to say, like, one thing, I was placed on pedestals obviously too before, and I used to be very, like, that's what I want to say. I used to get that, like, oh, you're so confident, you're so this and that. Really, like, people that know me closely, they know I suffer from anxiety. I have days and it's hard for me sometimes. I overthink, I worry and things like that. And I remember, like, this one particular dude I was dealing with, like, honestly, he used to have me on a pedestal, but then when he started seeing my weak spot, which was my anxiety, he used to pick at it, and like he used to use it against me. Like, he used to be like, oh, it's your anxiety, or your anxiety's acting up every time like I confronted him about something. Wow. or like I just was talking like normal, he'll just make it seem like it was my anxiety. And I'm saying this to basically say that, going through that and like having a point where I had to hide my imperfection, and then like, okay, what's what I'm trying to say? Trying to hide it, and then having that fear of them using it as a weapon. Now I know myself more to where, when I am talking to somebody, I'm able to open up about my anxiety and why I have anxiety, and like you really get into the specifics of like the basis of where it started at. So I'm saying this to say, like, when you're not allowing yourself to be affected by these pedestals, you're more in tune with your imperfections to where you're open about it and you don't feel like you need to hide them anymore. So I just feel like when you are able to express yourself in a real way and talk about your imperfections, nobody can tell you shit. Like, nobody can use that against me. Okay, I have anxiety and I know where it came from. I'm working on it, and I don't need nobody, bringing me down about that, because when somebody holds you at a pedestal and you don't meet that, they will take that and try to use it against you. But you know what? You got to know yourself and love yourself enough to not give a fuck what they have to say, or like whatever, or be able to dodge whatever bullets they're throwing at you.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a moment of silence for that one. I mean, seriously though, like, being in tune with your imperfections and realizing, what your quote unquote weak spots are. Because honestly, I don't think that's a weak spot. I think that's just like, that's what I come with. Mm-hmm. But like being in tune with them and realizing what they are, it's part of growth. Mm-hmm. And if we're just placed on pedestals, we're stunting our own growth. The other person is stunting their own growth. Like, if I just sit here and pretend nothing's wrong with me, I'm perfect, I wake up like this every day, whatever, like, I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to realize what I'm capable of, or what triggers me, or, what like my limits are, or, what makes me such a bomb person. Like, you're never going to realize any of that, because you're just sitting in a box, almost quite literally, that is defined by somebody else most of the time, because most of the time these pedestals don't even come from us. It comes from a family member who we value. It comes from a significant other. It comes from the friend group that we have or something, or it comes from like somebody, and we need to be careful of these pedestals that somebody else is placing on us, and then even the ones that we might place on ourselves, because some people do try to place themselves on pedestals. Life is all about growth. If you are the same person you were last year, you're not doing anything. And you're probably not going to continue growing if you don't get deep down and dirty with those demons that you may have, because we all got them. We're all imperfect, and that's okay. That's a part of life. That's why we were created the way that we were, to find out what those imperfections are and try and work on them. It's not about eliminating them. It's not about pretending we ain't got them. It's about embracing the hell out of them and realizing that we're still damn good people, even because of them.
That's some real shit. And going off of what you said about stunning the growth, even if you meet somebody's pedestal, you hitting it, you just gonna think, okay, this is where I'm at, and that's it, and that's where else it's stuck at. And I want to say too, everybody has a representative. I don't care who you are. When you first meet a person, you are gonna show your best qualities. It is what it is. That's what people do. So I just feel like when you meet a person, stop judging by that representative that you first meet, because honestly, that's not the truth. And yeah, parts of it is, yeah, they may be a funny person, they may be charming, but honestly, how is that person on a bad day? How are they when they don't get their fucking way? And honestly, a big one is social media. Like, I feel like we're in a fucking generation today, I want to say this, where we'll meet somebody and the first thing we do is just look at their social media, and then we're like, okay, we feel like we know them. You don't know that person. And then people are showing moments that they want to show, angles that they want to show, and freaking moments that they want to show. So at the end of the day, you don't fully know them. I don't know. I just feel like we're in a fucking mirage in today's world.
No, that's some real stuff. Honestly, like, I think social media is one of the biggest culprits as to why people don't want to, show their imperfections, why people even have pedestals to begin with. When you go on somebody's page and you see they only have a certain amount of followers or whatever, it's like, oh, why bother even talking to them? That has nothing to do with anything. This person may have 100K followers. They may have all these cars on their social media. They may have such an amazing job, or, making their own money. They may have this education, good body, blah, blah, go down this whole list of criteria that you want them to meet. But guess what? They ain't showing you half of what probably goes out behind this camera. They probably are lonely. I'm not saying every person is like this, but they probably don't like themselves very much. They probably only feel validated by social media. There's so many factors that do not go into consideration when we're just representing ourselves on social media. I mean, I can sit here behind a camera all day, every day, take selfies, show what vacation I went on, what car I just bought, what milestone I just hit within my goals and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm not revealing the struggle behind all these things. I'm not revealing the moments where I just have to sit in the dark because I don't know what is going on or what I'm doing with my life at that moment. I'm not showing any of the ugliness, because at the end of the day, my social media is my representative, and I'm not saying put your business out there. I'm not saying, show every single moment that you have in your life. But at the end of the day, do not do that to somebody else in that case as well, because just like we all have our own struggles, every single person that you meet on social media or off of social media, and you finally get their social media and you see their page, it's like popping or whatever, you don't know what's going on behind the camera. You don't know what's going on in that head of theirs. Just because somebody also meets like everything on your criteria list or whatever, it's not revealing their character as well, because somebody could have a lot of positive qualities that you're looking for, but there may be that one deal breaker, or y'all just ain't compatible because there's no communication between you guys, or certain beliefs that they have don't coincide with yours. We need to be, or learn to be okay with that as well, to realize that nobody's going to meet everything on our criteria list. I mean, I think we've talked about this in a different episode as well, that, yes, have your standards, but realize no one's going to meet every single thing on that standard list.
That's some real shit. Honestly, me and Jenna trying to say is really get to know a person. You probably heard it from your family. Your family probably like, oh, get a partner that has a degree, has this, has that, has a nice car. Don't get me wrong, that's nice. Okay, obviously you want somebody that's ambitious and goes, so what the fuck is their character like? You need to really ask yourself that question, because I can't tell you people I've met that had that list, that criteria on paper looked good, but that character wasn't shit. You know, honestly, my thing is, what's your soul like? Like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. I think that's something we always need to ask ourselves. Like, you know, and going off to what you said about the Instagram, you don't know what they're dealing with. Like, you know, I remember dealing with this one guy. Like, if you look at his Instagram, he seems like, you know, whatever, whatever positive stuff, but like, there's times where we chilling in his room and he was beating himself up the whole time, you know, and I would catch that negative side. And what I'm trying to say is, it's like, you know, if I just judge briefly just on what I've seen on the outside, you know, I wouldn't completely know that person. So it's really about really spending time with that person and learning, you know, because you never know what somebody really is going through, you know, and you know, stop holding people on pedestals based on their Instagram page, because I know people with 200 followers and they're like the best people in the world, you know. So some people fucking buy their followers, and then I'm sorry, just because somebody posing in front of the car, people flex every day.
Exactly.
You don't know if that's a rental or whatever.
Or their homie's car.
No, their homie's car, all that shit. So sorry to laugh. No, but that's some real shit. So we need to stop. Or like all this status, like, oh, what materials he got, what is he, like, fuck that shit. Who is the motherfucker that you're talking to?
Exactly. Like, how does somebody make you feel?
Yes.
You know, at the end of the day, how do you feel around them?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what we need to pay attention to. Like, you know, are our souls really aligning with each other? But we had to put that out there because that is definitely a misrepresentation on social media that we need to get rid of. You know, but, you know, after talking about all this, like, you know, the pedestals and being put on them or putting somebody else on them, like, how do we actually even move forward? You know, how do we stop doing this to each other and as a society as a whole?
I think, honestly, for one, getting to know a person, and then when a person tells you their flaws, like, they're at the point they're opening up to you and stuff, don't listen. Just listen. Don't judge. Get where the person's coming from. Try to understand why they're the way that they are. I think we don't take the time to do it. We're so, next, okay, check. You don't know what the fuck is going on, because you got some shit going on too, you know. And I think we're so quick to like, well, it's not this, it's not that, and that's okay. If there's deal breakers, that's a different story. But I want to say that to move in a healthy manner, really take the time to understand whoever it is. And with the pedestal thing, if you have a pedestal like that you're placing on somebody, or you're think of why you're even like that in the first place. Was it something that you brought up that way? Is that why you're doing it? You know, I think we should unwire that now, because it's not healthy. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I agree. You know, let people be honest with you also, and be honest with others, and don't use people's flaws against them. I have to say that from experience, because you know who you are. You used my past and my flaws against me, and that's not fair. You know, I sound like a bitter woman right there.
No, she's telling
but
the
I'm
truth.
not. You know, I hope this person, you know, eventually finds their person. But I'm just saying, he got a lot of growing to do. You know, so do I. But anyway, it's just not fair, you know, because we can't judge somebody for what they were like in their past, or what happened to them in their past, you know, or what experiences they had to go through. At the end of the day, like, everybody has their own journey that they need in order to grow into who they are. So we need to allow people to grow into these people. Again, you know, like Vernisa was saying, if there are deal breakers, of course, by all means, like, don't deal with this person, but don't waste your time, don't waste this person's time thinking that they have a chance, or, you know, that they're able to work their way up to it. Like, if you're just already saying no based on either if it is a pedestal or, you know, just a deal breaker, please just move on. We already have enough people bleeding on each other from past relationships and past traumas, you know, family stuff that we've gone through, that we don't need another extra layer, that because they're not meeting everything we're putting on here, that, you know, we're not even going to deal with them. That's fine. You know, do you, boo-boo, whatever you want to do, that's cool. You know, like, we all have different things that we want or looking for in a person, but just make sure that you're working on yourself every single day as well, and allow other people to work on themselves every single day.
Well said. You know, honestly, don't have unrealistic expectations, and you know what, love your flaws enough to be able to, what's the word I'm saying, accept yourself, even if somebody isn't accepting your flaws. You know, I think that's big, because when we're constantly seeking validation, that's how we put ourselves down, and we're not going to want to show our real self to people. I think that's and that's why it's important to love yourself first before you go out trying to love somebody else. You know, and I think that's where you're okay. Like, if someone's coming at you with pedestals, it doesn't scare you to where you feel like you can't be open with them.
No, that's true. You know, allow yourself to grow with someone also. Like, I think the biggest beauty that we can find out in love and relationships, all kinds of relationships, not just romantic, that you can grow with people. Like, even us as best friends, we're not the same people we were. When did we meet? Like 8 years ago?
No,
yeah.
So long.
Don't roll your eyes, girl.
I know. I'm like, woo, no, I love it. It's like, woo, all the years flew.
I'm just kidding. We get on each other all the time. But, we're not the same people we were years ago when we met, but it's because we've also never held each other on these pedestals. I've never been like, Vernita has to be a certain type of best friend or whatever. I've loved her through everything and will continue loving her through everything. Like we've accepted each other's flaws. We work with each other's flaws. And at the end of the day, you can apply this to any type of relationship. Like, if you're looking for your partner, you feel like you finally met your partner, but you're not super sure, because there's something about them that's like a flaw of theirs. Ask yourself if this is a deal breaker or if this is just something that is part of your fantasy and, they're meeting every single part except that one little thing, but you feel like you can live with it, but you're thinking of letting them go. Ask yourself, is that okay for you? Like, I'm just saying, because we need to realize that people are not perfect. I don't know how many times we can emphasize this, in a single episode, but it's true. Like, we can't expect to grow with somebody if we're not willing to realize in the first place they are not perfect. We are not perfect. I am not where I want to be yet, and that's okay with me. I'm willing to grow with somebody who's not where they want to be yet, but we're growing with each other, and as long as we're accepting each other's flaws and being honest with each other and then checking in with each other regularly also, like, hey, is this still working for you? Yeah, this is still working for me. I love you every single day, no matter what we go through, then we can make it through. Like, I just think people need to knock down these damn pedestals, like how we've been knocking statues down all over the country for these Confederate soldiers and everything. We need to be knocking down these pedestals all over our relationships and society in general.
Damn, girl, well said. And I agree with that. Like, it's beauty in growing with someone. Like, you're not going to get anybody as a finished product, like there's some shit you still growing through when you meet a particular person, but it's okay, I rather like meet some success and have somebody by my side the whole time than I got there and someone's only want to deal with me because I'm at a certain level of success, I'm gonna say this to my cousin. Me and my cousin were having a deep talk like about last week, and we're talking about pedestals and flaws, and she was like, one good prayer to say is, pray that whoever you're with, they're ask them to be patient with you, and that you can be patient with them. And that's like there's beauty in patience. Great things come from being patient. Like sometimes too, you have to learn how to love a person. They have to learn how to love you. And I feel like when you're really getting to know a person, you'll learn how to, you'll learn what's wrong and know where to love them. You know what I mean? And it's beauty in that. But if we just so busy like, okay, they ain't perfect, next. I feel like we're in this generation now where like the grass is greener on the other side. It's like, okay, well, this doesn't work. I can get another bitch. I can get another nigga, whatever. Whatever, like, it's always like some new,
the next best thing,
this and that. And it's like, we got to stop thinking like that, because at the end of the day, you go to the next yard, okay, some problems there too. It may have that flaw might not be that piece might be perfect, but there's probably something else wrong, so I feel like in the day it's about what could you work with, what isn't a deal breaker, and how could you move forward?
Yeah, and every yard has to be watered no matter what. So even if it looks green, guess what? You got to continue watering that yard in order for it to continue flourishing, in order for it to continue being green. Same thing with your own yard. Water your own damn yard first before you start looking for other yards to go to. Because if your grass ain't green, if you ain't watering yourself every single day, you're not going to be able to do that for other people as well. And you can't expect other people to do that for you. You can't expect people to fill up your own well, right? To give you that self-love that you need to be giving yourself every single day. And then going back to the patience thing, we made a whole episode on patience. And there's a reason why patience is emphasized in every single relationship therapy that you ever go to, or any movie that you watch on any type of relationships. It requires patience, because at the end of the day, we're never going to get things done on our timing. You may have plans, you may feel like you've done the work that you can do and everything, but you get hit with the curveball in life. Life is going to take us through this roller coaster. I've always thought that the universe has a funny way of working things out, right? And like the universe likes to laugh. also. So, you know, you may think that, oh, you know, I'm finally here, but then it's like, it comes crashing down with something, you know, something happens, or you meet somebody along the way that you didn't expect to meet or something. So we need to learn to be okay with these things and really just be patient throughout the entire process, because it's never going to come easy. It's never going to come in a straight line. You know, it's just going to come topsy-turvy, and that's just how it's going to be for the rest of our lives. So if we're just always waiting for things to happen, you know, because I planned it this way, it's going to go this way, you're going to be disappointed every single day of your life, because nothing ever works out the way we want it to. Sometimes it works out even better than we expect it to, but we have to allow that to happen.
Oh my goodness, well said. Like, I don't know, that's some real shit. Like, and honestly, I'd rather have somebody that's down for me and patient with me, because you know what, your life can change in a blink of an eye. You could be with somebody and have like a major life shift. Is that person still gonna be there by your side because they're in love with your character, or is it because of that material thing or that criteria, that pedestal that they're only dealing with you? So that's another thing you need to ask yourself when engaging in certain types of relationships. In the day, like Jim was saying, we're all humans. We all have baggage. We all have experiences. We all have traumas. You know, let's normalize being patient with somebody and helping people work through them, instead of judging them and throwing stones at them because they're not this picture that we wish we were.
Yeah, that's true. And I did want to emphasize too, though, that, you know, with us saying that we're human and we're flawed and everything, we're not excusing, you know, bleeding on people, like saying, oh, because because I'm flawed, you know, you have to accept me the way I am, you know, it is what it is or whatever. No, if anything you take from this episode, that's not what we're trying to emphasize. What we're just saying is that we're never going to be perfect. It's always going to be hard, you know, and some moments in life may be more beautiful than others, but at the end of the day, it's part of the journey. It's something that we have to go through, but never place somebody on something unrealistic that even you know you can't achieve, because it's just unhealthy, and it's just going to keep breaking every single relationship you ever come across.
No, that's real. You know, we gotta, what is it? Accept the real?
Real, yep.
Accept the real, not accept some damn pedestal or create some pedestal. So we hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Real quick, shout out to the homegirl Nico. As you can see, we rocking our ghetto tees.
That's right.
Ghetto stands for guys and girls
have enough talent to overcome.
Yes. Shout out to Nico. We appreciate you for the ghetto tee. Y'all make sure y'all tap in. Every donation to her Education is Key campaign goes to inner city students and gives them scholarships for college. So this is definitely supporting a good cause. For those of you viewing the episode, we will place her Instagram at the bottom. But for those of you listening, her Instagram is at Your Girl Nico. That's YOURGIRLNEEKKO. Click the link in her bio to donate. What's up, girl?
That's right. We love you. And everything you stand for. And please donate to her cause. She's doing amazing things on this planet.
Yes, and you know, support a Black business.
That's
gotta emphasize. Thank y'all for checking out this episode. Make sure y'all check out our Instagram at SpeakUpJV. Check out our Podbean website at speakupjv.podbean.com. We're on Spotify, iTunes, apparently iHeartRadio. We got a lot of good stuff coming for y'all soon. And if you want us to rock your merch on one of our episodes, makeup, clothing, whatever, DM us. We will definitely rock it for you and shout you out. But we hope y'all have a great day.
Yep. We love lashes. We love lipsticks. You know, we love shirts, everything. We're just kidding. You know, we'll rock whatever y'all want us to rock, as long as it's appropriate. You know, but yeah, we definitely love shouting out other businesses and supporting, especially Black businesses. You know, but yeah, feel free to let us know. DM us, email us. You will have our contact info at the end of this video, and also during this video, so check us out.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.